Good morning, dear friends. So here I'm back with my video for the revision of the structure of the human ear. So let us now have an insight into the details of the human ear. The human ear may appear to be a very simple structure from outside, but internally there are a lot of structures, there are a lot of parts of the human ear. Overall, the human ear is divided into three sections: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. The outer ear, that's highlighted here in green, that's one of the parts of the outer ear. So that consists of the pinna. Okay, the outer ear is also called as the pinna. Now, as we move in, as we look in, if I just deselect this organ, you can just see here that there's a canal that is leading inwards. You can see here inside. So that canal is called as the auditory canal or the ear canal. So that's the one that is lined by hair and also by cerumenous glands. Okay, so cerumenous glands are basically modified sebaceous glands, which are responsible for secretion of the earwax or the cerumen that traps any bacteria or any unwanted particles that are trying to enter in the ears. And even the hair intercept the movement of the various particles into our ear. So first part of the outer ear is the pinna. The shape of the pinna is the one that helps in collection of the sound waves. It is shaped in such a way that it will help you to collect the sound waves from your surroundings, and those sound waves are then transmitted towards the middle part of the ear, first via the auditory canal, which then strikes the eardrum. Let us have a look at the eardrum on the other side here. You can see here I've just removed the external layers, and now what I'm going to select, you will be able to see the eardrum. Okay, so that's the tympanic membrane, also known as the eardrum. If I just maximize it further, you can just see this more clearly. Apologies. Here you can see this. So that's the tympanum or the eardrum. So the pinna, the auditory canal, and the tympanum together form the part of your outer ear. Okay, so the purpose of the outer ear is to help in the collection of the sound waves and transmit those waves towards the middle ear. That's the function of the outer ear. The outer ear, the space inside the outer ear, especially in the auditory canal, is filled with air. Now let us have a look at the middle part of the ear that mainly consists of the three ear ossicles as well as the Eustachian tube. The three ear ossicles are named as Malleus, Incus, and Stapes. I repeat, it is named as Malleus, Incus, and Stapes. Now, these are called as ossicles because these are the smallest bones that are found in the human body, and that's why they are called as ossicles. The word ossicle refers to tiny or little or small sized bones that are present in the middle part of the human ear. So let us have a look at the ear ossicles in detail and its arrangement. What you see on your screen right now, highlighted in green, is the first of the three ear ossicles, that is the malleus. The malleus is also called as the hammer, and that malleus remains in contact with the tympanic membrane. So as soon as the tympanic membrane starts vibrating by the striking of the sound waves, those vibrations are then transmitted onto the malleus. So this again, I'll just show you, this is the tympanic membrane, which is a very thin and a delicate membrane that lies at the junction of the outer and the middle ear. And this is the malleus that is in contact with the tympanic membrane. That is the first out of the three ear ossicles. The malleus is also called as the hammer. Now let us have a look at the second ear ossicle, that is the incus. The incus is also called as the anvil. Okay, so the vibrations, once the first ear ossicle, that is the malleus, starts vibrating, those vibrations are then passed on to the incus, and then they are passed on to the third ear ossicle, which is in contact with the membrane bound opening of the inner ear called as the oval window. Now, So the malleus, the incus, and the stapes are the 3 ear ossicles, which are also alternatively known as the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. So stapes is also called as the stirrup, and it is in contact with the membrane-bound opening of the inner ear that is called as the oval window. So here you can clearly see a more detailed picture of the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. Now, what we see here highlighted in green slightly, if I just happen to hide this bone here, the sphenoid bone is hidden now. And now if I just hide this one muscle as well, so we can see a tube here, the grayish colored portion that I'm now selecting. This tube is basically the Eustachian Canal. Okay, that's the Eustachian tube or the Eustachian Canal. I'll just position it properly for you all to see it. Now, as far as this Eustachian tube is concerned, the function of this Eustachian tube is to equalize the air pressure on either side of the eardrum so that it can vibrate freely. I repeat, the function of the Eustachian tube is to equalize the air pressure on the either side of the eardrum so that the eardrum can vibrate freely. So whenever we are traveling, say via an aeroplane, so during takeoff or during landing, we sometimes experience uneasy sensations in our ear. And those uneasy sensations are because the air pressure on either sides of the eardrum is not equal. And therefore, we experience the uneasy sensation. So what we usually tend to do is we try to press our nose and we blow out air forcibly through our mouth, which helps us to equalize the air pressure. So the purpose of the Eustachian tube under natural conditions is to help us in equalizing the air pressure on the either sides of the eardrum. So that is about the Eustachian tube's function, that is to equalize the air pressure, allowing the eardrum to vibrate freely. Now, as far as the Eustachian tube is concerned, the Eustachian tube is located in the middle ear, and it connects the cavity of the middle ear with the throat. I repeat, it connects the cavity of the middle ear with the throat. And that is why sometimes if we have a throat congestion during cough or during cold, then we also experience uneasiness in our ears. That is because the two are interconnected by this Eustachian tube. So the location of the Eustachian tube is that it connects the cavity of the middle ear with the throat, and its function is to help in equalizing the air pressure on either side of the eardrum. So the middle ear consists of two things: the 3 ear ossicles, the malleus, incus, and the stapes, and the second part is the Eustachian tube. These are the main parts within the middle ear. Now let us understand why are there 3 ear ossicles and why not just one single ear ossicle. Now the purpose of the ear ossicles is to amplify the sound vibrations. The purpose of the ear ossicles is to amplify the sound vibrations. So had there been just one single ossicle in the middle part of the ear, then the amplification could not be achieved. The desired amplification cannot be achieved. And hence, there are 3 ear ossicles, which by means of their lever-like action, meaning the vibrations of the malleus in turn set the incus into vibration. Incus, once it starts vibrating, it will set the stapes into vibration. So it will be a lever-like mechanism that will kind of help in amplification of the sound waves. So the 3 ear ossicles present in place of one helps us in achieving a greater amplification of the sound, which then strikes the oval window, which is the membrane-bound opening of the inner ear. So you can see here the inner ear as well. The inner ear is also called as the labyrinth. Labyrinth means the fluid-filled structure. Now the middle ear, just like the outer ear, is also filled with air. But the inner ear is not filled with air. It's a fluid-filled structure, and that is why it is called as the labyrinth. Okay, so labyrinth, the word itself means a fluid-filled structure. Now this labyrinth consists of 2 parts. One is the cochlea, the spiral-shaped structure that you can see here. Okay, so if I just hide this muscle here, so you will be able to see the cochlea more clearly. Yes. So the spiral snail-shaped structure that you see here is the cochlea. So this entire is the human ear. And the remaining part of the inner ear is basically called as the vestibule. The vestibule will consist of the 3 semicircular canals that you can see here. Clearly visible. So you have the 3 semicircular canals. If I can just hide these blood vessels here. That will give us a better insight. You can see the 3 semicircular canals very clearly. And the semicircular canals are connected to the cochlea by means of a stem-like region that is called as the vestibule. It has 2 parts, the Utriculus and the Sacculus. So now we will be having a look at the inner ear in more detail. So the inner ear mainly consists of 2 parts, the semicircular canals and the vestibule, along with the cochlea. Now, cochlea is the organ or the part of the inner ear which helps us in converting the sound waves into an impulse. So this is a very important organ as far as hearing is concerned, because it helps us in converting the sound waves into an impulse, which are then carried by the auditory nerve towards your brain. And the second part of the inner ear, which is the semicircular canals and the Utriculus Sacculus, they help us in maintaining our body balance. So the function of the human ear is not only to help us in hearing, it is not only auditory in function, but it also helps us in maintaining our body balance. So now let us have a look at the different parts of the inner ear and also study their locations and functions. So what you see on your screen right now is a inner structure of the cochlea. You can see that the inner winding cavity of the cochlea is divided into 3 parallel canals, which are separated by the membranes. So this is the first canal. This first canal is also called as the vestibular canal. I repeat, it is also called as the vestibular canal. The third canal is also called as the tympanal canal. And the second one is called as the median canal. Now you can see there are fluids that are present. So the fluid that is present in the first and the third, that is the vestibular and the tympanal canal, is the same, that is the perilymph. And the fluid present in the middle part, that is in the median canal, is called as the endolymph. So the endolymph is sandwiched between the perilymph in the vestibular canal as well as in the tympanal canal. Now let us have a look at the membranes that is separating these 3 canals. So you can see here, this is the vestibular membrane that's highlighted in green. The vestibular membrane is separating the vestibular canal from the median canal. Now I'll just highlight the basilar membrane as well. So what you see highlighted in pink right now on your screen is the basilar membrane. Now on this basilar membrane lies the auditory apparatus, that is the sensory cells which help in converting the sound impulses, sound vibrations into an impulse. So here these are basically the cells which have these hair-like structures at their tips, which are in very close proximity with this tectorial membrane. So whenever these hair-like structures strike the tectorial membrane, that is what will be responsible for generating a wave of depolarization, in simple terms, generating a wave of impulse, which is then carried by this auditory nerve. I'll just highlight the auditory nerve here. Yes, you can see here on your screens. That's the auditory nerve that leaves from the cochlea, goes towards the brain. Now, so I repeat again, the basilar membrane is the structure on which the auditory apparatus lies. Now, this auditory apparatus consists of receptor cells, specialized receptors with sensory hair cells. Now, these hair cells have these tipplings or these hairs on their outer surface, which are in very close proximity with the tectorial membrane here. So whenever there is vibration of the fluid the vibrations of the fluid present in the first and the third canal sets the endolymph also into vibrations. And these vibrations cause the hair links to touch against or tap against the tectorial membrane that generates the wave of depolarization, in simple terms, meaning an impulse. Now that impulse is then transmitted via the auditory nerve. These are the fibers of the auditory nerve you can see here. That is also called as the cochlear nerve, the auditory nerve. And then they carry these impulses towards the brain. So this is about the structure of the cochlea. So I repeat again, the cochlea consists of three canals. These three canals are, the first one is the vestibular canal filled with perilymph. The third one is called as the tympanal canal, again filled with the perilymph. And the middle one is called as the median canal. It is filled with the endolymph. Now, in the median canal, you have the basilar membrane. The basilar membrane supports the sensory cells which can convert the sound vibrations into an impulse. So these cells have hair-like structures at their tips, and these hair are in close proximity with the tectorial membrane. So whenever there is vibrations of the fluids within the cochlea, that is first the vibrations of the perilymph, which are then passed on to the endolymph, these vibrations cause the movement of the basilar membrane, and as a result, these sensory hair cells strike the tectorial membrane. The striking of these hair cells with the tectorial membrane generates a wave of depolarization. Now, how that wave is generated is actually there in detail in grade 11. Now, that wave of depolarization is then carried by the fibers of the cochlear nerve or the auditory nerve towards the brain. So thus, cochlea is basically the chief organ which helps us in converting the sound vibrations into impulses. So any damage to the cochlea can result in permanent deafness. Now, let us have a look at the function of the semicircular canals and the utriculus and sacculus. So now here in this zoomed in image, you can clearly see the three semicircular canals. Now, these three semicircular canals are arranged in such a way that one lies horizontal while the other two lie vertical to the one which is horizontal basically. So here you can see the semicircular canals. And these semicircular canals are responsible for helping us in maintaining our body balance while we are in motion. That is, they help us in maintaining a dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium means the balance while your body is in motion. So now let us just have a slightly detailed look at the internal ear. If I can just hide this part here. So you can see that the base of each semicircular canal is swollen, and that swollen base is called as the ampulla. I repeat, that swollen base is called as the ampulla. Now this ampulla has the sensory hair cells which can detect the changes in your body while it is in motion, and thus it helps in maintaining the dynamic equilibrium or dynamic balance. And you can also see that these are the branches of the vestibular cochlear nerve, that's your auditory nerve, that are also connected with the swollen bases of the semicircular canals. So you can just see here, this is one of the semicircular canals that has been highlighted in detail for you. Now this is the second one, and then you have the third one, and you can see their swollen bases as well here. Now, coming to the next part of the inner ear, that is the utricle and the sacculus. Now here this region to which the swollen knobs of the semicircular canals are attached is called as the utriculus. Now this utriculus along with the sacculus is present in this region here. So utriculus and the sacculus together help in maintaining our static balance. Static balance means when your body is at rest. Okay, so there will be sensory hair cells even in the utriculus and the sacculus, which will help in detecting any changes in your body position while you are at rest. So there will be nerves that will be connected to the utriculus as well as the sacculus also. You can see here, these are the nerves that are, these are the branches actually of the nerve, that is the auditory nerve that are connected to the utriculus and the sacculus. So the auditory nerve is also called as the vestibulocochlear nerve, which will carry the impulses not only from the cochlea, but also from the different regions of the inner ear, that is including the semicircular canals as well as the utriculus and the sacculus. And thus, the inner ear not only helps us in hearing, but it also helps us in maintaining a static balance as well as a dynamic balance. Dynamic balance, I repeat, is the balance that is maintained while the body is in motion. And static balance is the one that is maintained while the body is at rest. So uneasy vibrations of these fluids that are present in the semicircular canals often cause motion sickness. And sometimes when we spin around very fast, the fluid present in your ampulla region of the semicircular canal also vibrates. And once you suddenly stop, that fluid continues vibrating for some time. And that is why we feel that our head is spinning around even if we have physically stopped moving. So all these uneasy sensations are attributed to the fluids that are present in the semicircular canals. So that, my dear friends, is about the structure of the inner ear. So with this, we complete all the revision of the sense organs. In the previous video, I had already posted about the structure of the eye and certain defects related to it. And here we today complete about the human ear and its different parts and functions. So thank you everyone for watching the videos. Continue subscribing and liking the videos, and I'm open to suggestions. And for any further queries or any further doubts, you can always write to me at atmiya.eduhub@gmail.com. That is my email ID. I repeat again, atmiya.eduhub@gmail.com. Wish you all a lot of luck for your upcoming board examinations. I hope these videos will help you to prepare for the second term examinations. Thank you, everyone.